This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Hi friends, good morning in this Azure Databricks Master Program. So in today's session, we are going to talk about reading TSV files and pipe separated CSV files efficiently in Spark. So how to read TSV files, how you can read the pipe separated CSV files in Spark, we are going to learn in today's session. So yesterday we already learned how you can read the CSV file, single file, how you can read. If you have a multiple files in a folder, all the files should have the same structure, then we were able to read. And we also tested yesterday, if we have a two different schema files, which schema it is going to consider is whatever schema is having the more number of records, so that particular schema Spark will consider. Okay, fine. Next, in today's session we will learn so how to read TSV files into data frame. So first we will see reading TSV single file, reading multiple TSV files from the directory. Then we are going to talk about how you can read these TSV files with a user specified schema. So yesterday we have seen, right, user defined schema we have done for the CSV files. In the same way, for TSV files also we are going to define our own schema. What is TSV? Tab separated value. Okay, so you know already it's a CSV means comma separated value. Here it's a tab separated value, meaning tab space will be there between each column. Okay, next we are going to talk about pipe separated CSV file into data frame. So instead of comma separated, so this particular file will have a pipe separated, all the columns are separated with a pipe. Okay, pipe separated CSV file into data frame. How you can read pipe separated CSV file into data frame. Okay, so then how you can read single pipe separated file, how you can read multiple pipe separated files. Then we are going to see how you can read pipe separated CSV file with user defined schema. We are going to talk about those things. Then we will talk about options while reading the CSV and TSV. So if it is a pipe separated, I can say simply CSV. If it is a tab separated, that particular file, I will call it as a TSV, right? So while we are reading these files, we have a three options: delimiter, info schema, and header. We already discussed yesterday, but quickly I will walk you through those options again, and we will start the lab immediately. Okay, options while reading, delimiter. So delimiter is a column separated value. Okay, so to identify each column uniquely, to separate each column, to define a kind of a structure data, to define a structure from that particular data, we are going to identify this particular delimiter. So by default, if you're not mentioning default if you're not mentioning any delimiter, by default it will consider a comma as a delimiter. But if we have tab, if we have pipe, if you have anything else, you need to mention explicitly. Yesterday we were not mentioning anything explicitly because our delimiter is comma. But today we are going to deal with the two types of delimiters. One is tab, second one is what? Second one is pipe. So we will see how you can read TSV files, how you can read pipe separated files with the help of delimiter. By default, delimiter is comma, remember. Info schema, it is going to scan the data and it will get the data types. Yesterday we have seen the default value set for this info schema is false. By default, it will not get the data types of your data. So if you want to get the data types of your data, what is the problem? The problem is it is going to read data once again. It is going to scan data once again to identify the data types of each column in your file. Next, header, the default value of header is false. But if you have any headers, if you have headers in your TSV, CSV, pipe separated CSV files, you need to explicitly mention that header equal to true. That's why whenever I am reading or writing CSV files, I usually use header equal to true. This is the mandate. Okay, because if we have a headers, it will be more readable, right? So that's why we need to mention the headers. If you don't have headers, you can create the headers later. That is not a problem. But the thing is, if you have headers, you need to explicitly say header equal to true. Otherwise, what happens? Headers will go into your data and it will generate the default headers that we have seen yesterday. Okay. Next, syntax for reading TSV files. You see, this is the one of the syntax, right? Spark.read.csv. So you just mention your TSV file. See, .tsv, header equal to true, header equal to true, info schema equal to true, and separatory slash T. You see here, this is the tab. This is the tab. So instead of using info schema equal to true, what you can use, schema equal to schema you can use. This is the one syntax. Another syntax that you can use is, another syntax is something like this. Spark.read format is CSV, option header equal to true, option info schema equal to true, and option delimiter is tab, schema equal to schema, whatever schema you have defined. Dot load, I want to load the file from this particular location. This is a .tsv file. Even though I'm saying formatting CSV, you need to give here .tsv file. Next, df equal to spark.read format of CSV. So header equal to true. All these things, this is I have mentioned I want to read a single file, but I want to read entire data which I have in this resource folder. You just mention up to the resource folder instead of mentioning to a single file. Okay, this is how we are going to read this single file. Okay, entire directory. We can also use this syntax or this syntax, any syntax you can use. Next, syntax for reading the pipe delimited CSV file, right? Now use spark.read.csv. This is the file path. Header equal to true, info schema equal to true. Separate is you see pipe, schema equal to schema. This is one syntax. Second syntax is spark.read.format of CSV, header equal to true, option info schema equal to true, option delimiter is pipe. Instead of comma and tab, now we are using pipe, schema equal to schema. You need to use one of these, option info schema equal to true or schema of schema. Dot load, I want to load the file from this particular location. This is for a single file, but if you have a multiple files in entire directory I want to read, then you need to mention entire directory. Okay, that's all slides I have. Let's quickly go and do the lab today. So from tomorrow, I will not show you how you can create the mount point and all those things. By the session starts, so what I will do, I'll just create the mount point. I will just keep the mount point available for you because it will waste our time, right? So every day, if I create a mount point in front of you, at least 5 to 10 minutes, it will be waste. Already you know how you can create the mount point. So that's why by the time we start the session from tomorrow, I will create the mount point. Okay, so that we can save some time and we can spend on other stuff.
Malaya, would you be able to explain about double delimiters when we extract a file?
See, this is a sequence, one by one I am coming. So yesterday we have seen comma separated, today pipe and tab separated. Tomorrow session we are going to talk about how you can handle the double delimiter in Spark 2, Spark 3. Spark 3 we have a direct. Suppose in your project they are saying no, we already started with the Spark 2 and you need to go to Spark 2 and you are using double delimiter. How you can handle in Spark 2? So both the things we'll cover in tomorrow session. Okay.
Thank you. And sampling ratio also, right?
Yes, sampling ratio that I will cover later because that is a Spark 3. Okay, that particular part, if possible, I will take day after tomorrow. Otherwise, I will cover at the end. Spark 3 new features. Fine. Let's create a resource group. Sunday. Okay, workspace. Create. Create it. Portal.azure.com.
Hey Malaya.
Yes.
So to read all the files, you said just mention the resource folder, so it will read all the files underneath that resources, right?
Correct.
So what happens if there are subfolders underneath the resources?
You need to mention the subfolders. If you have a subfolder, then what you can do, you have all these subfolders is having same structure, then you can use star.
No. My question is like when I say like just resources, if there are assume that there is a resource one underneath of resource, so will it read the files automatically from resource one also, or it just reads from resource?
I did not get you. Can you elaborate question?
So assume that like resources, I wanted resources, still resources. Assume that I have 2 files and 1 subdirectory. So whether when I read the files from that particular resource directory, will it read only file 1 and file 2, or it will go underneath of resource 1 and also read another file from there?
So you have a folder 1, inside folder 1 you have folder 2 and along with folder 2 you have files.
Correct.
So now your question is, if I see if I give just folder 1, what will happen?
Correct. Yep.
So I think it will fail, but I will let's see today.
Okay.
Cloud Pandit. Click review the screen. Click it. Okay, fine. Let it create. So I am not using keyword today. So again, because it will take again times. Let's hard code our keys, but you know how you can connect to the keyword from keyword, how you can get right those keys. So that's fine. Let's connect directly today. It will not take much time, so we will try to cover all the scenarios, whatever is pending yesterday and today, because this is a little bit quickly we can able to finish this. Azure Databricks also finished. Now let's click launch workspace. So Databricks workspace is open. So first thing, let's create the cluster quickly. This is important. So cloud under the demo, it's a single node. Many things, let it be create cluster. Now click on this workspace. You can say let's create here. Create TSV. Okay. So first thing we need to mount. Okay. For mounting, so this is the code, isn't it? So this code first, let's create a folders, containers we will create, and we will try to create the mount point. Click on container. Click on containers. I'll say here cloud created. Okay. Fine. This is a folder cloud pandit. So this particular folder I will just mount it. Copy this. Keep this. Next, come here. Take this storage name. Let's use this storage name here. Okay. So whatever mount here, whatever container we have given, mount name is exactly same. Okay. Now this entire thing, instead of reading these things from the keyword, I can just hard code this, isn't it? I can hard code it. What I will do, I'll just use the access key. Just click on access keys. You just copy this access key. Anything is fine. You can use anything. Just use it. Now we need to replace the config key. Okay, we need to replace the config key. So how to get that config key? We need to get it from here. So dot, copy this and just put it here. Okay, so I keep it here. So this is the storage name that I need to replace here. So I hope this is clear to all of you. Please let me know whoever is not able to understand. But this is clear, right? Now I want to read files. Okay. So before you are trying to read the files, let's try to upload those files into our storage. Come to overview. Click on containers. Okay, go inside this container. Okay, let's try to upload some files. Okay. Let's try to upload these files. Okay. Come here. So pipe separated file. Okay. So these are the pipe separated files. Let me just upload these files and then I will tell you what are these having. Okay. So this is what. Now first let's finish Hari's scenario. Then we will go to the other scenarios one by one. Okay. Let's click upload. My third file I will upload now. Okay. But when I am uploading, I will upload this into a some subfolder. Okay. You can say my go to data folder. Then click. So now we have like this, but what will happen when we read this? We'll try to understand. So you know the path spark dot read dot format with CSV. Okay. Next, you need to use option header equal to. Whoever is not able to understand, please let me know, friends. Okay. Don't hesitate to ask question. Info schema. So info schema, it's not a mandate, right? Let's use the delimiter. This is mandate. So if you're not using delimiter pipe, so it will consider as a single column because there is no separator to identify the columns. Next, I want to load the data from which location. I'll just say mnt/cloud funding. So inside this, I have a files, I have a folder, but we will see whether it is going to read all the things or it is going to just read a two files which are there outside, or will it throw any error? Because I also did not check. Let's test it. Okay. So, but meanwhile, first thing I will show you what is the data we have in all these files. Pipeline file 1.csv. So you can see here we have a 112 15. Okay, 11 to 15 records we have in pipeline 1, pipeline file 1. Next we have 16 to 20, meaning total 15 to 16 here, 16 to 20 here. Let's go inside this folder. Inside this folder, what files we have? Let's see. Here we have 161 to 201. Okay, so this is totally a different number. So we can identify what files it is reading, whether it is through or anything. We can able to understand. Let's attach our notebook to the cluster. Okay, click on this cluster. Click confirm. Yes, our cluster is already available. Let's create the mount point first.
Malaya, there is a small syntax error, I guess, near mount point in the last. That arrow is there.
Oh, shit. Scan this. You are right. Thank you. Yes, it is created the mount point. Let's try to read the data now. We got only outside files. Okay, Harish, we got only outside files. Now, if you want to read subfolder, let's give the star. Let's see what will happen. See now what is happening. So it is reading outside files. It is reading outside files plus subfolder. Both it is reading now. So that is up to you whether you want to read only outside files and you want to read outside files plus inside the folder. Okay, star if you use, you can read all the files. You understood now?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so I have small doubt once again. Here in these two files, I see this column is null, whether we have 4 columns or 5 columns. So in this pipeline 3.csv, we have 5 columns, I think. Yes, we have again list something is there. But outside files, let's check these files are having that. Okay, so this is not having, that's a null. Okay, fine. This is all we are reading. Okay, this is fine. Now, what we wanted to do, this is the first scenario, right? So let's try to complete the first scenarios, then we will go with our normal execution. See, normal things you can able to learn by yourself also, but these scenarios we need to explore. Now, yesterday, Arjit is asking some question, right? Let's say here, player highest score is null. Okay, for everything it is null. Just to save this. This is pipeline file 2.csv. Maybe I'll just go to pipeline file 1.csv. Here also, I'll just remove this highest score. Just save this. Okay, now, take this same code. You understood? If you're not using star, you are reading just a files under okay. Let me just give some comment here. It will be easy for us to understand and read. Subfolder. Okay, so this you understood. Now let me just take this. I want to read only outlet files. Okay, just keep it here. So this is the delimiter MNT cloud funded. This you understood. Now let's try to read first. Okay, so you are getting a null value here. Okay, so what is the null data type? So string. This is string, so it can able to understand it's a string. But now let's try to use info schema. What it can info the schema in these kind of situations. That is what we are trying to understand. Info schema equal to true. So will it give string only or will it give something else? It will throw it. See, if we have a complete null values in there, it is considering as a string. If you are not specifying any value in this column, if entire column is null, it is treating as a string. But we know player highest score is integer. Yes, we are using info schema when we don't have anything, by default it is considering as a string. Remaining things you can see it is integer, it is integer. Player name is string. Okay, this is clear. Ajit, clear, right? Next scenario is
Yeah, I have one quick question here. Is even if your file is a TSV, right, tabbed separated values, right? You are reading the read dot format is a CSV. No, I understand. It's okay. Means what I'm trying to tell is something other than comma. Okay. So if that type of file is there, why you are using format as CSV? Is it because the extension is CSV, or is it the category?
No, it is category okay. Under CSV. Okay.
Okay.
So separator can be a pipe, separator can be a tab, separator can be hash, or it can be anything. Okay, cap.
So I can say, like, as long as it's a delimited file, CSV is the category.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, understood.
So, but for TSV files, we will just use the .tsv extension, because one thing I will show you. Okay, I will tell you one thing. So without any extension, if you have a file without any extension, you have a file without any extension, you will get in real time files without any extension, but inside data you have some comma separated or something. That kind of files you can still read it as a CSV. Okay,
yeah, because in Unix we don't have any like meaning of extension. Is it the same way how it works here?
Yes. Okay. Next thing you try to understand, even so somebody Pawan is trying to answer that, right? So if you have a text file, extension is txt, but inside that text file you have a comma separated value. That particular file also come under a CSV category. Okay.
Yeah, Malay, I have one more doubt. Suppose in one file we have a data like player ID, player name, or something. So in another file the order is different. Okay. So how we can deal that?
Then so data will come in a like mismatch order example, I'll tell you. So here, let's say, but I will show you practically also. You just understand here. You have ID name and ID name. Just let's imagine we have a 1 Rama 2 Krishna, something like this. Okay. You have next name comma ID. Okay. We have name. You can say Sai comma 3, right? So when you just read these two files at once, how you will get your output is you will get. I think it will consider ID comma name only because the more number of records are available in that particular file, and but the data is it will give something like this: 1 Rama, 2 Krishna, and Sai comma 3 it will give. Okay, that I will show you. Okay.
Yeah.
This now again. Okay. So
Malay,
these things. Yes, yes.
so how about .dat extension? Even .dat extension also should we give .csv format as CSV?
.tsv.
DAT.
DAT. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
.dat files also we need to give. So .dat, what is the data inside? Inside
Yeah, it's a
data.
tab. Can be tab, whatever. Yeah, CS, like
Yes.
pipe. It can be anything,
Yes.
right?
Yes. You need to give a TSV only.
Okay.
In
The
Malay,
other
in your
question,
Yes.
previous,
the other
in your
question I have.
go ahead.
Yeah. So the other question I have, like after we extract the files, then I don't want to save those files in the folder. So I want to archive. I want to move it to different folder. So should we write a script or like that?
Yes, you need to read and write. So write it into another folder that we have seen, right? When we are mounted, we read the data and we have written to the different folder.
Okay, so we have to create one folder and we have to use something like move, right? dbutils.
See one thing, no, not dbutils. So example, okay, I think you are confusing. See df, I have this df. You can write it into another folder. You want to cut it, like you want to move it, or you want to just after processing your data, process the
No,
data,
I don't.
you want another folder.
Yeah. So after I write the data into some of the files, right? I don't want the whatever the files in the in what is that input folder.
Okay.
After I extract.
Okay. So in that case, what you can do, what you can do, you have here all this dbutil commands will work here. Okay, just say mnt/cloud Pandit, you are getting all these things. Let's say this is the file you want to move, right? mv command you can use to move these files. Okay, example, inside this, let's go inside. Yeah, it's not. You don't require this. Let's say something like I just upload some file, some dummy file. Let's say this zip file. Okay, I'm just uploading some zip file. I can say here this is basically archive data. The archive data folder I have. So into this folder, I want to move this particular pipeline file 1.csv. Let's try to move that pipeline CSV. I want to move it into MV unit use. Okay. MV. Archive data. Okay. So when you are moving, you just tell what is the name you want to give. So name I want to give exactly same. Just exclude this. File is true. It's moved. Okay. Now come here. Come to the storage. Refresh this once. See, pipeline file 1 is gone, so it went into the archive data folder. Okay.
Okay.
Clear?
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
1 second. Just wait a few minutes because let me just complete. Nagendra, somebody asked one question, right? What will happen if the data is in a different order? right? So let me just quickly finish that. See, player ID, player name, player highest score, and the number of matches we have. Okay, this is how we have. Now, let's say pipeline one file, I'll just revert back. Okay, I'll just bring it back. How to bring it back? I'll just take this. I'll just cut it. I'll just bring it back. Okay, let's put this. Okay, that is available into my back. It came back. Oh shit. So this is having multiple. So this is simply a folder. You no need to have it. You can remove it. Otherwise, without removing also, you can keep it because that is a 0 byte file. Okay. Pipeline file one.csv. Pipeline file one.csv. Just click on this. So in this, you see what I will try to do. So it doesn't matter IDs and all, right? So you just set column name. You can change. Player ID. You can mention at the end. Number of matches. You just include it here. Let's say the number of matches are 11, 12. How it will know? The number can be anything, right? Number of matches, you can say 11, 12, 13, 14. Player ID, you can say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay. But now we'll see what will happen if the order is changed. Will it really identify or not? It will not identify. Let me show you. It will just give. By now, I hope you got the answer already. But let me execute and show you quickly. Let's replace that. Here 16, 17, 18. Player ID. Number of matches 11, 12, 13. Player ID 10, 20, 40, 50. But you see, yes. See, it is mismatch now. You see, anybody? Okay, I only confused. You should confuse now. This is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 are the player IDs. From which file? From which file? So those are from the pipeline file 2.csv. See, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 are the player IDs. Okay, you got it from the pipeline file 2. Let's go into pipeline file 1.csv. What is the player IDs? Player IDs is 10, 20, 40, 50. Okay, player IDs are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. But what it is taking? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 it is considering. You understood? So it is just taking this. Understood? So it will not know what is the numbers. What it will do when you just have, if the data is mismatched, okay, schema order has changed, then it will just consider as this. So then automatically data will corrupt. Okay, so these kind of scenarios are commonly happens in our big data. That's why we have something called delta lake, right? So delta lake is basically developed on top of the data lake. So you have a data on top of that, you have a delta futures. The delta futures will avoid all these kind of things. Okay, we will see all those things. Okay.
Sure.
Then you will see even though data is corrupted, you can able to revert back because versioning will have, schema detection will be done. Then you can, instead of reading all the data and applying the upsert operation, right? You are going to do multiple times. Join, you will apply to identify updated records, inserted records, old records. You will union and you will write it to your data. But in Delta, without doing, you can directly update the records. Yes,
If you provide the schema here itself, is there any chance to identify the exact data?
No. Let's
User
see
defined schema.
No, let me just define that. From PySpark.sql.type. So we know we have, as I discussed, struct type and struct type and struct. This should be capital. Next, integer type I need, And what else I need? I need a string type. Okay. So with this, let me quickly define the schema. Struct type. Okay. Inside struct type, I have list. Inside list, I will have a multiple fields. How many fields I have? 4. Let's see, field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4. Okay. So you can just give the first column name, player ID. Like what is the data type of this? We know, right? Integer. Let me just give it. Will it allow null values or not? Yes. It will allow null values. True you can give. Okay. Next player. Next player name. String type. Will it allow null values? True. It will allow null values. Player highest score. See, by default, info schema it is getting what? It is getting string type. So I want to say that it is basically integer type. Even though data is not there, whenever you receive data you will get it in a integer type data. Okay. So true. Next string field here. This is the number of matches. Number of matches. Sorry, number of matches also integer, right? Integer 5, and it will allow null values true. So that's all you need to do. Close this. Yes.
Below also we need to change it. Yes,
What?
dot. In below command also we need to change, right? In
Yes.
data frame we need to mention yes dot something. Yeah.
Yes. Schema of yes. Yes. So just execute this. See, there is no change with respect to data, but data types has changed. This is also
It
coming as
worked, I
a
think. Yeah.
What?
It is working.
No, it is not working. Where it is working? See, player ID in file 2. I know
It's
it
not
is
working.
confused.
It's the same issue what Malaya told
Same.
initially.
See,
Can you open the file once?
Click a day. You see, player IDs. I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
Oh.
But you see, player ID is coming as 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Those are this first column data. Understood?
Yeah. So even though schema defined also it is getting problem.
Yes. Okay. Clear?
Sure. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we'll see.
Hey Malaya, I have a couple of questions. So one is how to read the zip files and tar files, and another question is, yeah.
Zip files, everything will not see. I am covering in a order. Let me show you the order. Try to understand. TSV pipe is completing. Next, you will have a multi-delimiters will come. Multi-delimiter will come. Okay. After that, read CSV file with the multiple delimiter at a different positions. Multiple delimiter means in the same file you have a different delimiters at a different positions. Okay. Then we are going to talk about Parquet files, then Excel file, XML, JSON. Okay. JSON 2 sessions it will take.
If you are covering in the next topics, I'm fine.
Yeah, zip, gz, URL, zip, all those files will cover. So one thing is like one by one I am covering. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. So another question is how to read the date and timestamp fields.
Date and the timestamp fields. If you have, you can just read it. Example. Okay. So this is clear. First, if you finish it, I will just consider my this one, right? Tab separated. In tab separated, I'll just use that particular date and the timestamp. Okay. So that
Correct. One question, Malaya. So structure type we need to use like an array. Like for any when you want to define any schema, basically we need to start with struct type. And struct field, like if you want to define any individual field, definitely I need to use struct field, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, fine. I hope everybody is clear. So now you know, right? How see this is how you are going to read the like a schema defined, like with user defined schema, you can read the pipe separated files. So here we have seen multiple files you can read, right? So here we have seen star means all the subfolders and your main folders you are reading. If you want to read a single file, you know, but in real time, we won't read a single file. The reason is because Spark is going to write your big data into multiple part files. So you are always going to refer to your folder, not to a single file. So we will talk about all those things, but I hope I have covered all the things with respect to the pipe separated files. Let's go with the tab separated files. Before we go to the tab separated files, as Harish is requesting, let me add the date and the timestamp. Okay, go inside this tab separated files. Let's right click on this, edit with Notepad++. Okay, see, this is how I have the data. Now let's say instead of player ID, player name, player highest score, and all these things, you can say player ID, player name, player. You can say what you can say is you can say player date of birth, DOB. Okay. Next time I can say player 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 registration timestamp something. Okay, now here I'll just say my date. Okay, 2020 01 you can say 90. In the same way I'll just use this here. I'll just use this here. So this I can set 20, this I can set 20, this I can set 22, this I can set 23. Okay. So I'll just take same, but I'll just add the timestamp 10, 10, 10. I'll just add same. We need to add timestamp something, but in files you'll get basically 09. Okay. So this is my first TSV. What is this? So sometimes we need to take care of these things. So these things will not be same. Just to make sure. So this should be exactly tab separated. To check if something goes on, you will not be able to read data properly. You need to make sure that this is exactly tab separated data. I'm just using the tab to maintain the space between these two. Okay, so this is perfect now. This will do one more time to check further. Yes. Okay, this is the tab space. So we sometimes you will see like more space, sometimes you will see very less space, but this is how you will get the tab separated. You can just close these two and click tab button. You will see the space. Okay, this is the tab space basically. Okay, this particular file I save it. Okay, save. I save. I'll just take this same data, go to my second file. Okay. Here I'll just say what I can do. I'll just put it here. Here I'll say Patel. Some names let's try to use. So now you can say 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so I'm just preparing all these files. Now I'll just check one or two times again. This will be same, no issue. Now let's save this also. Save it. Okay, I will upload these two files. Okay, let's come here. So for easy thing, what I will do, I'll just delete these files. Okay, this is a flat file structure. You cannot delete these folders. Okay, if you want to see, you can see you cannot delete these folders. Okay, you need to delete only data. If you delete data, automatically folders will be deleted. So those are see folder is deleted. Go inside this, delete this. Folder will be deleted automatically. Okay, now let's upload this. Let's upload this TSV data. Oh, not TS, tab separated. Okay, let's upload this too. Okay, inside directly under mount point, directly I am uploading these two. You know how to read single file. I think I don't need to explain again and again. You just take this from here. So remove this user defined schema and all those things. We will read it again. See, it says file.read.csv attribute to delimiter is tab. Okay, /t schema. I don't have any schema. I'll just remove this. Load, I want to load directly my mount point. From under my mount point, I have a multiple files. See, now you got all this stuff. Understood? See, this is basically what string it is considering, but I want to get the user defined schema. I want to get the sorry, not user defined schema. I will ask my info schema what it will give. We'll see. Info schema. True. Let's execute this. Let's expand this and see. It is giving this. Info schema equal to true. This is the year, month, day, the timestamp correct, but it is not giving this. Okay, so timestamp it is not able to detect. Okay. 1 second, just give me a minute. It should give in a YYYMMDD only. In same format, I have given the data. This is the issue. That's fine. I think info schema is not able to detect this and it is considering as a string. But let's try to see user defined schema will give whether user defined schema is defining properly or not. We will see. Okay, fine. So you know, right, user defined schema. I'll just use from sorry. So you understood, right? Info schema is not able to detect these data types. Okay. So there are multiple ways to check whether these are convertible into date time or date time and this is date. Okay. So let's learn whatever we know first, then I will tell you the different ways. From PySpark to SQL dot types import. So what you can do, don't use star unnecessarily. It will import all the things which is not required for us. Okay. So it's not a good idea to import all the things which are not required for us. Structure type and inside struct field integer type, then what else we have? Yes, string type we have. Next we have timestamp type. Next date date time. So date type, we have a date type. Okay, so timestamp type you will have, date type you will have. Timestamp means date and time. Okay, date and time. So timestamp means only sorry, timestamp means date and time. Date type means only data. Okay, fine. With this, let's define the schema. Struct type. Inside it, I'll say structure field. Fine. So let's try to give one by one column names. Player ID, player name, player date of birth, player registration. But it should identify in info schema, because from my knowledge it should identify, because I've seen that. Let's see that again. Player ID integer type. Okay. Null or not null, I'm not saying. By default it will consider as a true. And the next player name is string type.
I think you have to keep that like T, then other values, right? Without space.
What is the
For schema.
info schema?
No, can you go up in your SQL statement that you had written that select current date? Instead of writing that, can you do like a select current timestamp function?
Current timestamp, it will give just date and time. So I have taken only date. So because I want to compare date, year, month, day or month. That's what I've done.
Okay.
That's okay. So now let's try to see this. What will happen? Schema of well. Let me check. So this is a date, this is a timestamp. So this is one way. Okay, this is one way. You convert it. You have given the user defined schema, but info schema should fetch the details. But why it is not fetching? Okay, if it is not fetching, right? So still you can able to, what you can do, you can able to convert these data types. These data type of these columns you can convert. But I'm still have a doubt why it is not identifying. From the file it should identify basically.
Malay, if you can open the file somewhere at the column level, it is double quotes. Might be that's the reason it would have detected. Can you try?
See where we have.
Okay.
We have null value or what? Okay, I think yeah. Okay, let me just do something. I think in TSV file 2.csv, liquidate. We have some 7th line space. Let's save this without any space. Let me now do the info schema control. No, string only. It is by default getting the string. But if you want to convert, this is the one way. Another way you will see anyhow when we are using the transformation. I will tell you the one of the transformation how you can convert the data types by using with the column cast function. You can able to cast these things into the different data types. Okay, clear?
So Malay, I have another question. So usually, like in the files, we'll get some control M characters, right? So will it Databricks read it automatically, or do we need to specifically do anything to remove control M character?
I never tried those things actually. So I'll just check. Can you just share that particular file with control M? So I never seen that particular file also, but I have seen somewhere only one time I have seen. But just to share that particular file, I'll just try to understand how you can read, whether it is possible directly in Spark. Okay,
That's fine.
Okay.
And so we in the, I mean, if I understand correctly, basically for data type definition, when I define my own schema, basically I don't need to specify the length, right? So it automatically picks the length, right?
Yes, length and all you no need to specify like the SQL here.
Okay.
You no need to specify. By default, it will take. So in Python, right? So there is no like something range length, right? So you don't have long, int, all those things. We have integer which can allow unlimited length. Okay, in the same single type. So there is no length for all these things.
So another question is regarding the fixed width file. So if I need to, you'll cover the fixed width file later, or
Yes, we'll cover.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, friends. Thank you.